Hello people, it's Gavin here again from Hologram Productions. And today we're going to learn how to make a club-ready remix, and the track that we're going to be using as our track that we're going to remix is the classic Opal by Bicep. The original sounds like this. So we're going to basically generate all of the ideas from the original gated ARP sound, which sounds like this. And make it sound like this. And as usual, all of the samples that I'm going to be making in this video will all be made available on my Bandcamp, and the link is in the description if you want to get access to those samples so that you could remake a similar track like this. And for those of you who felt that the level of detail that I go into this video was not quite enough and you want to see how I did this from beginning to end, then there will be a link in the description for a video in which I show you how I made this track from the very beginning to the very end, and pretty much no stone will be left unturned. And you can get access to that at www.hologramproductions.com. There is no better inspiration to learn how to make club-ready music than to actually go clubbing and listen to the music and observe the audience and see the points at which they scream and shout, and listen to what's happening in the music, how long the breakdowns are, how energetic the breakdowns are, how the drop is formulated, what kind of drums are used, what kind of leads are used. There is no better way to learn how to make a track that's actually going to work with an audience than to actually regularly go out clubbing. So let's try to do this in some kind of order. I'm going to start off by showing you how I constructed the... First things first, let's take a look at the kick and look at the MIDI for the kick. So 4 to the floor with the occasional swung secondary kick, which acts like a tom. And I do a lot more of those at different sections of the song, which adds an awful lot of swing to the mix. I'm using a kick from my own melodic breaks pack called the Buried Kick, which I felt had a nice warm undercurrent to it, a really nice warm sub, but I felt it needed a transient, so I added a transient by using the transient from the Chaos Kick, which sounds like this, but I had to use EQ to roll off the lows, so you just have the top end. Together they sound like this. And I used an awful lot of drum layers from a UK garage pack because I felt that a UK garage pack would have a nice British texture to the drums and also a nice swing. So that together with this. And here's another drum loop, which I decided to transpose up, so you get this nice metallic shininess, which I also boost using the EQ. So together, you get a nice bit of ear candy up top. And a shaker line, and I got this from a vinyl sample, and I quantized it, and I used Beats transients at 49, and I put in swing settings like so. Sound like this together. Now this drum loop, I have to say, is doing an awful lot of the work. And then I just rolled off the lows, and I noticed that there was a spike here that I wanted to get rid of. So that got rid of most of the areas that I didn't want, and works together very well with everything. And then I want to glue things together and make things punch by using my mixdown group, which comprises of EQ, glue, multiband compressor, saturation, and another EQ, all of which are set very, very gently, not to work too hard. And it makes the drums pump really hard. And then a secondary parallel line in which I run everything through a delay and a reverb and through all of the settings again, and I'm only utilizing the high frequencies. And you turn the volume down, both together they sound like this. And that's the drums. So now we're going to move on to the to use a sawtooth in order to compose a melody. So you get F, C, G, A grace note, down to F, up to G, and then A, because the track is in A minor. Sound design, you turn on shimmer, voices 6, amount 34, and you spread it and you get a nice unison respace. You turn on the sub, so the sub is stable. Turn the frequency down, turn the drive up. And then run it through a couple of audio effects such as glue, and really turn the makeup up because you want to fatten this up. Sidechain it to the kick. An EQ here, which is just calming down some of the frequencies which I felt were boosted too high. A multiband compressor also to essentially control the bass, because you need the bass to be as under control as possible. Put on a limiter, and then this EQ, which is going to essentially roll off when it's necessary. And now there's a top end bass which has a nice swing to it, which I utilize using auto filter. The envelope is turned up, the amount is turned up, and then the rate is at eighths. And it's the exact same sound, except all of the lows are rolled off. It's the same MIDI, and it works in conjunction with the bass. And then I think I didn't really do much thinking, I just applied the same mixdown light group from the kick. And they work well together. So let's move on to the... I decided that I want to incorporate the original sample, but I didn't use any RipX plugin. I literally just got this directly from the original track. And I made sure that it was quantized to 125, which is a lot slower than the original track. And then I ran this through a few different plugins. Just to control it, I added a bit of compressor, a bit of kick, and also I ran this into my audio effects rack, which has the grain delay turned up to 88% and the feedback to 0. Basically put the circle down there. Maybe this should be to 12. And you're just getting that ghostly high end, and it's running through a reverb. So both together, just gives you a bit of shine up top. Now, I know this sounds like a cheap technique, but I decided to compose the MIDI chords which sound a bit like this. There's a few of those grace notes which I put in there, and I also make sure that the swing setting is on. I think those grace notes that you hear in the middle are very, very important to flesh it out and give it some life. The sound itself is not that complicated. It's just a saw pluck, which I've done in an awful lot of my videos with the random voice unison. And let's have a listen to what it sounds like with all of the plugins, such as the Galactic Choral Hall Reverb, Chorus Ensemble, Echo, set to 4/2, so it basically works well with the groove. LFO to pump away to the kick, and some EQ to basically work out some of those spikes. I also have another instrument working in parallel, except this time it's a diva instrument, which is doing more or less the same thing. I couldn't decide between the two of them, so I ultimately decided to just keep it, just to have it as another texture in the background. There's a moment later on in the track where you can hear it pronounced even more. And the other thing that adds life to the sound is the microfills beat repeat sound. I added some extra craziness to it, which is I duplicated the main ARP and I created a secondary ARP by taking the chords and dragging them out so they're the same chords, and then using a diva preset and then putting on the arpeggiator to 16ths. and making sure that the swing setting is on, swing 16s. And again with the microfills and all of the other plugins that are on the other channel. So therefore, both of those together sound pretty funky. You get this really, really cool glitched out quality. A couple of things to focus on in the arrangement is that I duplicated the bicep lead and I looped a very, very small part of it. And I ran it through autofilter and portal using the times preset. And this is basically happening in the introduction to the track. So the introduction of the track, I have this EQ8 with the following filter cutoff, which means that the actual bass of the kick is graduated in. So it starts like that with that textured sound, then a little bit more of the bass comes through. Also pay attention that I use a riser coming into the first drop of the track. And there's one interesting section here whenever I skip the kick and then I reverse the samples, so you get this sucking into the main drop, which comes from that sample being used. And at that exact point, this exact is basically where everything goes silent, and I had to make sure that all of the sounds were turned off at that exact point, including the bass. So it's altogether, it sounds like this. And you get that seriously deep bass. Grand. So I hope that you got something out of the techniques shown in this video, and it has inspired you to make your own club edit if you wish to do so based on your ideas generated from some of your favorite tracks. I need continued support for this channel to grow, so don't be shy about hitting that subscribe button, and also hit the bell and give the video a like if indeed you enjoyed it, and leave a comment down below saying if you liked it or even if you disliked it. All comments help with the algorithm. And don't forget that if you go into the description, you'll find a link that will lead you to www.hologramproductions.com, where if you want to get more from this video, you can purchase a 100-minute long video which explains every step of the way about how I made this track, including the MIDI project and all of the samples and instruments, and also the final master track if you wish to use this in one of your DJ sets. And if you do so, please hit me up on my Instagram, Wukah Sounds. You should do that anyway. Go and basically follow me on Instagram. It's called Wukah Sounds, and you can send me private messages there if you wish to do so, positive or negative. And if you're looking for one-on-one tuition, as I always say in my videos, you just contact me on my email, which is hologramproductions1987@gmail.com, so that I can teach you how to make any kind of music that you want, how I can fix your mix down, so I can give you artistic support, or if you just need someone to talk to about how rubbish your life is, I'm also really, really good at listening to that. So there you go, guys. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.